Yeah, welcome to today's session. And today we are going to be looking at another important concept in SQL for data science and analytics. And the concept that we are going to be diving in today is something called common table expression. It is a very clever and very useful technique in SQL. And I found it to be very, addicting. Um, I say that the moment you find someone, the moment you learn CT, it takes a certain level of restraint to not try and throw CT at everything. Just like the classic saying, that classic story of someone discovering a hammer for the first time and everything starts to look like a new, right? So CT is very, very beautiful, very nice, and it offers this uh, procedural way of doing things, like a way of solving problem where you can actually break the problems into tiny chunks and solve them step by step. Then bring everything all back together. So that's the way CTE works. But what CTE basically, as in what is the actual definition of what CTE means? So CTE in SQL is a way of creating temporary tables, and these tables get stored, in runtime, and we can query against them. And what makes it really nice is that the moment the entire query executes, that temporary table vanishes into thin air. So it's unlike something like views. In the case of views, the table remains in the database in the schema. So sometimes you don't want that to happen. You just want to like save it in temporarily, then query against that particular table, and after that, just let it go. And I mean, you're going to get a good idea of what I'm saying when we start writing examples. So let's look at this very first example. So let's say I want to write a query that returns the names of employees. Um, okay, let's just do something. Let's start off extremely simple. So we're going to write a query that returns. This is something that you could probably solve with subquery, and it's true for majority of the things you can solve with subqueries. You can actually solve it with CTE. So write a query. Write a query that returns the others that are above average in terms of fright. So we want to write a query that returns the others that are, above average in terms of fright. That is the fright cost above average. And we want to use CTE for that. So what we could do is we could say this is not like a good question for um um a good question to solve with CTE, but I feel like this is the simplest way I can show you how CTE works, because CTE solutions CTE problems that require CTEs are a little bit like extensive. You are going to see them today, but I don't want to start off with something that long. I just want to show you something very, very short, straight to the point, so that you can get an idea of what CTE does. So first thing I want to do is, whenever you want to create a city, you start with with, and you go the name of the city. So let's say with Fried City, Then we go as. So basically, this could you can name this anything. So just a name for the city, basically a name for the temporary table that you're creating. So we say with fried city as, then, and I like to do this. I'm sorry, close it like this. But basically, what you just want to do is open a bracket, and we can go select avg fried as average fried from sales order. Then, yeah, if I come all the way down here, I can actually, this is the city here, but I can actually query against. So I can say select star from fright underscore city. So I should run this, I get my output, which is the average fright here, which is, it's very cool, right? And, it's something that you could do. This stuff that we just did right now, you actually do not need a city for it, right? So you can do something like just this. Select average fright as average fright from sales order, and it's going to return this. But what we are doing right now is I'm trying to show you that you could firstly write this logic, save it in a CTE, a temporary table, and you can within that same runtime, within that same line of execution, you can quickly write something against that, right? You can write a query against that. So that way you are not like directly querying against the database, you are querying against a query that you wrote, against the database. So it's actually pretty interesting. So let's solve the actual real problem. So we've gotten our average fright. Now, what do we need to do now? So what we need to do is come here and say select, let's just say order ID, order date. Let's do that. Fright. And we say from, it's going to be from our main table. So it's going to be from sales order. Then we can go where fright is greater than, uh, you know, here we go, we come back to needing subquery. So we say where fright is greater than select average underscore fright from fright underscore city. So if we run this, we get the result of fright that are greater than, our. So if we come here, let's order by here. So we can come under here and say order by fright. So let's leave it in ascending so that we can see that it starts way ahead of, immediately ahead of the average fright. So basically, let me run you through this again. This is like a problem that does not in any way need a city. You definitely be able to solve this with just a subquery, just a line of code like this, just this one alone, where you just change this one to select average, stuff like that. It's going to solve this. But this is just like, one of the simplest way of showing you what a city could do. And if you look at this, the first thing we did is we got the average fright, you know, saved it inside a city called fright city. Then we now go ahead, we went ahead and, you know, um, wrote this query against the database. Then we wrote this subquery against the city, which is the temporary table that we've created. And this is one application of city. So basically, what a city does is it allows you to create temporary tables. It allows you to create temporary tables. Let me give let's take another one, and that one is going to like be something that really requires city. So I'm going to write a query query that returns the of employees, and number of customers. There's the customers and suppliers that we have in each country. In each country, the number of employees and suppliers that we have in each country. So if we come here now if you go and check customers table, you see that in customers table we have company name, all of that. The ID here is customer ID, the key column here. So let's see if that has a relationship with um what's that, suppliers table. So let's go check suppliers. Yeah, so we see that the only ID also here is supplier, so they really don't have any key column in common. So what do we do? This is what we do. We're going to come here and say with customer underscore city as, then we can go off and say select um that we are selecting country, comma, we're counting um customer ID. So we count cost ID as number of customers. So that's, then we say from, that's going to be from customer. And we're going to need to group. So we say group by, and what are we grouping by? We are grouping by country, which is the title column. And that's our first city. We can actually check it out, see what it returns. So we can say select star from customer, and from customer underscore city. Yeah, that's correct. So let's just run this and see how it comes out. So we see that we see each of the countries and the number of customers that we have in that particular country. And next thing to do is to get for the employees, and that would mean we have to write another city. For the supplier, sorry, that would mean we need to write another city. And it's a very nice opportunity to show you how to chain multiple cities. So to do that, we're going to do comma, and you could do it there or just on the next line. I don't know. Anyone works, but for readability, I like to do it on the next line. So, and you just do comma, and you don't need to do with again. So you just go the name of the second city, and you go as. Then we can go like this. Then the next thing to do is to come in here to X. Sorry, Control Z. We don't need to do that. We just need to define this one here. We can say select. It's almost the same thing that is inside here. So we say select country, comma, count, and in this case it's going to be supplier ID, like so. What is here? And we say as number of suppliers from supplier. Then we group by country. Now so if I should come here and say select star from supplier underscore city, what is it going to return? It's going to return just the information that is present in our supply city. And this is another thing to learn from the way city works. The fact that you created a city does not mean you have to, I mean, common sense wise, you have to use it. So, because if you don't use it, or if you're not going to use it, so why did you create it in the first place? But on the sequel side of things, it doesn't really care whether you use the city that you've created. For example, in this case, we created a customer city, created a supplier city, and we are just, you know, querying the supplier city alone. So, and that is just what is going to return for us. So the fact that you created a city does not mean it is going to automatically be displayed for you or something like that. So you have to actually call it. And if you don't call it, it is not going to be shown to you. All right. So now that we've gotten supplier city and we've gotten, customer city, um, what we want to do is we now say that these two cities have something in common. And what do they have in common? They both have they both have country in common, which actually means the same thing. The US in country in customer city signifies the same thing that the US in supplier city means. So we can take that and just use it as this kind of like this key column where we use it to join these two guys together. And we're going to initiate the join. We're going to do it here. So we're going to say select. We can go s dot let's go c dot country, comma c dot number of customers, which is this one, comma s dot number of suppliers. That's going to be from suppliers, from customers, excuse me, from customer underscore ct as c, join, just like the way you do your join. But you're going to see why we should be mindful of the join that we do. So join supplier city as s on s dot country equals c dot country, right? Now, yeah, that's basically everything we need. So if we run this, you know, now we are seeing country, the number of customers we have in that country, and number of suppliers we have in that particular country. And in this case, in the case of what we are seeing right now, we are only seeing um countries where we have customers and suppliers. So if there is a country where we have customers but no suppliers, we are not seeing it. If we have suppliers but no customers, we are not seeing it. And why is that? The reason why that is because we are using an inner join here. So if we want to see, you know, country where we have customers, regardless of whether we have suppliers there or not, we've already covered this before. So just left join and we can run that and fine. So we see that we have some country. Can you see we have a lot of nulls now? So firstly, in Mexico, we have 5 customers, no suppliers. In Argentina, we have 3 customers, no suppliers. So what we are seeing right now is countries where we have what do you call it? Countries where we have customers, regardless of whether there are suppliers there or not. So if there are suppliers there, we put the number of suppliers there. If not, we fill it with a null. So that's that. And if we want to, so in this case now, countries where we have suppliers but no customers, they are not showing currently. That is, we have suppliers in that country but no customers, they are not showing right now. So if we want to do that, probably do um we'll do full join that you've seen before. So what we can basically do is we can come here and say left join, then we can go union, union, then we can go select the same thing that we selected at the top, c dot number of customers. Don't forget that there is no direct full join clause in MySQL. So at least to the best of my knowledge, we always do union to get that. So just say from customers customer underscore CTE as C. Then we write join here. We write join supplier underscore CTE as S. It's almost the same thing as what we have at the top. The only difference is that we have a right join in this case. So if we run this, yep, I think that's everything we need. So if we run this, we see that if there is a country where we have supplier, can you see? So there are actually these two, we have these two nulls. That's interesting. We have these two nulls here, and in these two nulls here, there are records regarding um customers, and they are not associated with a country, right? So um if you go into suppliers table, you are going to find situations where we have what do you call it, where we have records, and they are let me show you, and they are not associated with a country. You probably see that in customers too. So if you come and we say select star from supplier where where country is null. So if we do this and we run this, man, that's interesting. From customer, no, yeah, where country is not, that's it. Let's check. That's interesting. So where does that null come from? That null is interesting. So let's start from customer. Yeah, that's interesting. The way I would actually think about this, unless if we have a wrong implementation somewhere, is that here, here, for these two null guys here, you want to think that we have some suppliers record, and the country in there is null. That is the reason why this country is null in this case. That's what I would like to believe. And we don't have any such occurrence in number of customers, so it shows null in that place. But in number of suppliers, we have two situations where we have null values. Where we have null values like this, because the way this is that our select here, the one here, is choosing, country, number of customers, number of suppliers. Let me check that again. C dot number of supplier. No, yeah, that's correct. So from customer underscore city as C, then we just write join. That is, we are taking all of the companies where we have suppliers, regardless of whether we have um whether we have customers there or not. So let's try this. Let's try this bit and see if it gives us a bit of clarity as to why we have the null. So, let me paste this here. Instead of doing from customer city, it's going to be from um no, we don't need the joint. We just say from. Let me write it from scratch. I hope this is not confusing for you. Let's just select um that's going to be country, comma count, and we're going to be counting supplier ID just to see. as num underscore supplier. Just put that there, from supplier group by, how that we grouping by country. Then we run this. So if we run that, right, we are not seeing any null here, right? We're not seeing any null values here, which confirms that there might after all not be a null, because when we did is null, we didn't get anything. So let's run this again and see. The query works, but I want to actually know why we have a null. So another thing we could do is we could say select c dot country, c dot number of customers, s dot number of suppliers from. Let's do from supplier CTE, then we left join, which, to the best of my knowledge, is the same thing, right? Say from supplier CTE as S, left join customer CTE, as C on c dot country equals s dot country. So it will return the same output. Great. So it will return the same output. So this particular null value here is something that I cannot explain. Usually when you see null values like that includes the title column like this, it would mean that we have some records with no uh values here. Let's do this last inspection and we just move on. So select country from customer, sorry, from customer, and we order by customer DSC. We order by country, sorry, by country in descending order. We run this and okay, so we can, yeah, that's fine. So we say where country is null, we run that. There are no output. We come here and say do the same thing for supplier, and we run that. No output also, meaning that there are no null values. If we come here and run this just to see, there are no null values here too. So I really do not know where that null is coming from, but from my experience, whenever you have nulls like this, or something I'm going to research, and I'm going to actually leave this in the video just so that you can research it yourself. But whenever you have nulls like this, what it usually means is that some records in either the customer table or supplier table do not bear the country value. That is, the country value there is null. That is usually what this means. So another thing that we can do is clean up those nulls. Those nulls means different things. Let me run that again. These nulls, they mean different things. Firstly, is the null inside this number of suppliers means um um it means zero, right? It means there are no suppliers in this place. So we should put zero here for these ones. Then also, in this case, it would mean zero too, but since this is null too, this country here is null too. So probably should not include them in the record. So, but one thing that we could do is let's switch the context here to s dot country, which basically is going to be the same thing, but let's just try that out. So if I should run that, oh, that was the error all along. That was the error all along. This should have been s dot country. I'm glad we could pick that up. This should have been s dot country because the focus now is now on supplier city, like the country that we are supplying from. So now we have all this um country here, and we don't have that kind of know from earlier. So we have all this country here. Japan, there are no customers in Japan, but there are suppliers there. Yeah. So the mistake that we made earlier is that the first one should be C dot country, customers country. Second one should be S dot country, suppliers country. Yeah. Right. I'm glad we could sort that. So the next thing to do is come here, and all of these null should be zero. That is no suppliers here, and all of these null here should be zero. No customers here. So these are countries where we have customers but no suppliers, and these other ones are countries where we have suppliers and no customers. So how can we do that? So you can probably do it with if statement or your case, whatever that is. So we can come to this place and say, um, yeah, let me remove this for now. You can see select here. Let's start with this. We can see if, let's take it to the next line. Let's keep, then we can say tab. So we can say, you can either use if or case anyone. So we can say if c dot customers is null, then we can go, 0, or we can add c dot number of customers, and we can go to the next line and do almost the same thing and say if, actually we can take this all the way back because we'll probably need to add some alias here. So we say if s dot number of suppliers is null, then what should it do? Should fill it up with 0 or so, else it should fill it up with s dot number of customers. So before we go ahead and add alias, let's see how that fixes the oh, we have an error. What's the error? It says unknown column s dot number of customers in field list. So let's check that. Where have we done the edit? Yeah. This should not be number of customers, it should be number of suppliers. Thank you. Then we can run this again and see. Yeah. So yeah, we're going to clean up these aliases, but you see that all of these stuff, they've become zero. All of these null on the supplier side and the uh customer side, without getting to the suppliers, because all of the suppliers below are still going to be null. We haven't handled all of this, but the ones at the top are going to be zero. Now you're not going to find null there, so this means 0 0. We don't have customers there, and we don't have suppliers there. So to fix this one, also these ones, this null, we just come all the way down here and do almost the same thing. So we'll come here. Where are you? Left. Yeah, this place. So it's going to be if, and the if c dot customers is null, then 0, else return the same value that was there before, then else say if also This is null. Zero also. C dot number of suppliers. So we say as number of suppliers. This is quite long now. This is also going to be as number of customers, and this here is going to be as number of customers, and this here is going to be as number of suppliers, just alias to make it cleaner. So this has gotten very long, and I warned you at the start of this stuff that city problems can be city solutions can be quite long. So it says we made the same mistake from earlier, calling something c dot number of suppliers, which does not exist. So where is that? It's going to be around here. So this should be s dot number of suppliers, not c. So we run that, and we are good. So we are here. So all of Japan, Australia, and Netherlands, they are all zero. That is, we don't have customers in those places, even though we have suppliers there, and vice versa. So that's the complete solution to the problem, and that is CTE for you, a way for us to do temporary tables. Create customer CTE, save that information in memory temporarily, supplier CTE, save it in memory temporarily, then write this logic against both table. And yeah, that is CTE for you. I hope it makes some sense. And you probably see more of City in the next one. So you definitely, not probably, you definitely see more of City in the next one. So thank you, and have a great day.